You're listening to TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole.
We're your hosts. I'm Kate.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is our show where, you know what? Let's do something a little different.
Welcome to TG1F's Read an F1 Romance Novel Month.
F1 romance, author interviews, book recommendations, oh my.
Join us for a month-long celebration of F1 romance authors and the stories that get our hearts racing.
Because while F1 drivers are filling their shelves with trophies, we're filling yours with F1 romance novels.
Who are we talking to today, Kate?
Turn the page and find out.
All right, Bridget. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on the TG1F pod. We're very excited to chat with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy.
Well, you look lovely today, and I'm very excited to hear more about your books. So why don't we get started? Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your books, some plot line, your characters, what people can expect when, downloading or purchasing your book?
So I have a 5-book series so far. The first one that I would always recommend you start with is Jumpstart. It's a little bit lighter on the Formula One side, but it's about Leonard Tick, who's a world champion, and he kind of lost his passion for the sport a little bit. But then you enter his enemy, and she kind of has a lot of job problems. And then eventually he goes, okay, you can work for me. You can babysit my dog while I'm doing, my race weekends. And she loves the dog, so she's like, okay. And then every time she comes to the races, he kind of gets his passion for the sport jump started. So it's a lot of forced proximity, a lot of banter and tension, and it's a lot of fun. I think I had a lot of fun writing their banter. And you go into The Inside of a Rainbow, which is a little bit heavier on the mental health rep and enemies to friends to lovers, I guess. But she wants to become a race engineer in Formula One, which obviously is also not easy for women. And he is an aspiring MotoGP racer. So we kind of get to
MotoGP too. Love.
So we see one race from him, and then we kind of go to Monaco for her. And they're fake dating, though, because his dad said, okay, for your girlfriend, I can fly her to Monaco. I can get her all the opportunities to kind of meet people in F1 because he's super rich. So they fake date to pretend. And then in Rush, we have Valentina, who's an aspiring F1 driver. And we kind of have a friends to lovers as well. So Gabriel is a Formula One driver and also her brother's teammate, which is a little bit messy, but Adrian is amazing. So he always supports her in everything she does. He's protective, but he's not like, okay, you can't do this or anything. Mm-hmm. So he's my favorite. I love to gush about it. So we kind of follow Valentina through the journey of going into Formula One, her being accepted into an F1 academy as well for Velocita Rossa, which is my version of Ferrari, really. Mm-hmm. So that kind of goes over 2 books. So we have Russian Chase, which is about the same couple. And then we have Reserved, which is about Adrian and more mental health as well, because we have an anxiety rep as well from the FMC. And they're not allowed to date, so it's a forbidden love. Mm. But of course, off limits doesn't really mean anything to them because they become friends and they fall in love with each other. So yeah, sorry, 5 books, a lot of information.
A lot, no, that's amazing.
But that's pretty much it for now.
I mean, that first book, I just kind of am stuck on the fact that I don't think I could think of a better job ever in the world than like just watching a dog and going to F1 races. Like, that's my dream. You literally wrote my dream. Yeah, that's my dream job. So I am very excited to read that one because I'm going to be living truly vicariously. I'll bring that to the beach with me next week. So something that I love is that, and you just kind of talked through this when you were giving us the themes of all these books, but you are a huge proponent of representation in your work in many forms. So everything from queer representation to mental health, women in motorsports. So can you tell us a little bit more about, how you approach representation in your work in a really authentic way?
So I have anxiety and I'm a plus size woman. So I think the most authentic that I can bring for those 2 categories is always my own experience. And I usually write that in my author's note. I say, I've struggled with this and I've struggled with this. And so this is kind of my journey with it. And I just also always want to make clear that it's mine. So everyone else's is just as valid, but it can be very different. It can be similar. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy when people say, I feel so seen in your books, because that's what I want to do before I start writing a book. I always think, what is my goal with this book? I can't just write a story. There needs to be a message in this story, something achieving. And for Rush, it was me going to a race, and I grew up with Formula One, but still there were no women at in 2019 when I went to the race. There was no really, some reporters, but not a lot. It was still mostly men, only men racing. I mean, still nowadays in F1, there's only men
Mm-hmm.
racing. But I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to change mindsets. So I listened to a lot of women in motorsports, their stories. Sophia Flörsch, huge inspiration for me
Yep.
because she's amazing. And I think Valentina kind of shows that as well, because they have a lot in common, I think, as well in their journey. They got kicked out of like F3 and so on. So I kind of just wanted to show that representation as well. So I think that's what I want to approach. How I approach my books is just listening to a lot of other people as well, listening to myself, working through my own things, and just letting people see that, and hopefully they feel seen. So yeah.
I
Oh,
love
that's
that. That's such, I think authenticity really comes through when people like actually have it, right? You can tell right away when someone who's writing something that doesn't actually matter to them. So to know that you really take a lot of inspiration from your personal journey and, what you're going through, I'm sure means a ton to anyone who reads your book.
I hope so. Yeah.
So you mentioned, you just mentioned that you grew up watching Formula One. When was it that you decided that you wanted to write books with Formula One as kind of the main theme?
It was at the Montreal race in 2019,
Okay.
and I just fell in love with
I
this.
was also at that race. That was a good race. That
That
was a good
was such a good
race.
race, right? Lewis won. I was so happy. Yeah, so that was the day that I decided I really want to talk about the sport, because I just fell in love with it.
I
I
love
love
that.
it.
Oh my gosh, you guys, Invisible Strength Theory. You guys were both had that race, and I feel like this is just meant to be. So, I mean, you talked about how you kind of pulled inspiration from Sophia and her story for some of your characters. Are there any more like real life people or events that you pulled inspiration from as you were writing these books?
So I always say that my books kind of give the vibes of some drivers, because I think a lot of fans love that. I also have a lot of fans that go, "Oh, so which book is which driver?" And then I'm always like, well, you can go Jumpstart. You can definitely see Lewis. I had a big thing with Jumpstart where so many people always hate on Lewis Hamilton, and it makes me so sad, because I think he's
Hmm.
an amazing person. He's doing so much good in the world, and I kind of wanted to bring that into my book as well. So you can definitely see Lewis. For the Inside of a Rainbow, Mark Marquez, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, who
Sold.
else?
Sold.
Then for Rush, Charles Leclerc. He was the first man that in 2019 I went to. I was like, okay, I see it.
Okay. Invisible String for us too now, because those are all my favorite people. So I can't wait, because if you had to ask me three people that I would want to read
Books
romance
written
novels
about?
about, those would be the three people. So this is perfect for me.
But yeah, and then Lando for reserved, I guess. Like Adrian, he's very goofy, he's very fun, he's very advocate for mental health as well in the second book more than the first. So it's definitely Lando vibes. So that as well.
I love
Love
it.
that.
So we've talked about it. You've written a lot of books. You've probably written a lot of tropes at this point. What is your favorite trope to write? And on the flip side, what is a trope that you haven't written yet, but you're super interested in exploring at some point?
My favorite trope, I think, is enemies to lovers, honestly, because the banter, it's so fun to write. I'm currently writing a
Yeah.
tennis romance, and it's enemies to lovers, and it's so fun to write. It really, really is. And one that I really want to write is Marriage of Convenience, because I'm actually working on an F1 book with Marriage of Convenience at the moment. So
Ooh, sneak peek.
Yeah.
Okay, love that. Well, the next question was going to be, do you have any motorsport related books coming up?
Yeah.
Yes, we do. Can you give us a little sneak peek? Who is it? Have we met the characters in the previous books? What's a little bit of the storyline?
So it's about James, who plays a big role in Rush and Chase. He's the FMC's best friend and also Adrian's best friend, so the MMC of Reserved. And it'll be a marriage of convenience, single mom,
Wow.
and she's also in motorsport as well. So, but she's gonna be a coach for his kid. So, and his kid is a little bit
Fun.
naughty. He pulls hair, and then that's kind of how they meet because she not yells at his kid, but she reprimands him a little bit. And then he's like, "How dare
Mhm.
you reprimand my kid? That's my job." And then she's like, "He
Well,
pulled."
you're not doing a very good job at it, huh?
So yeah.
Okay, very fun, very exciting. Love that concept. We're getting into a little rapid fire round. So, you've mentioned a couple drivers that, may or may not have inspired some characters, but at the moment, who is your favorite driver on the grid and who was your favorite team?
I have three. Does that count? Like
Of
three
course.
drivers?
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Lewis, Charles, and Lando, definitely. And then I'm a Ferrari girly, but they've broken my heart so many times. I think I'm turning into a McLaren girly instead.
It's hard. I'm like
Who
I'm
could
like
fault you
feeling
for
like
that?
reverse enemies to lovers with Ferrari. I'm like, we're lovers to enemies right now. Like, you
And
can't
I
keep
mean,
getting away with this.
dream team for you next year, Lewis and Charlotte, the same team. So it's kind of perfect.
I was very excited actually after. I mean, initially I was shocked, but then afterwards I was like, okay, I'm on board.
I'm so excited. I just can't wait to see Lewis in red. Like, I just feel like this is like it's like meant to be.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right, outside of F1 romance, what is your favorite book or series that you've read recently?
Anything Katie Robert, to be honest. I love the
Okay.
Dark Olympus series. I think that's my favorite of all time, but anything they write, I'm here for.
Okay, love that.
Dark Olympus series. Gotta check it out.
It's so
Um,
good. It's a Greek mythology retelling. It's so good.
Nicole and I
I
famously
I had
love a Greek mythology.
Kate,
Re-
we've read them. I She did
oh,
the I'm pretty sure you read them. What is her she does the Hades Persephone and then Eurydice and
oh, is it Neon Gods?
Yeah, near.
yes.
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, I love also.
Mhm.
Sorry, I did
Yeah.
not remember the name. Okay, same. Love.
Yeah. Those are so
We
good.
do love I love a Greek mythology retelling.
Me too. Yeah.
It's so fun.
The
There's just like so much room for fun.
Yes.
I especially love, and I know you mentioned you know plus size representation and anxiety. The one she did, the Electric Idol one with um what are their names? It's Eurydice and or Psyche and
Eros, I think. I'm not
yeah,
sure.
Euros. I have read that book so many I've reread that book like 3
Yeah.
times. I loved it so much.
Me too.
I think she just does
That's
a
the next. I think I started that one. But then I'm pretty sure Crescent City 3 was coming out. Like as I started that one and I was like, I gotta stop. I gotta catch up. I
it
gotta reread
it
Crescent City
was
right now. I was like, unfortunately I do have more important things to do, but that reminds me I need to get back into it. So honestly, this chat is really filling my week next week, my beach vacation. I'm getting all
Did
of
you
my books to read.
Bridget,
That's a,
question for you. Did you like the Helen one? I haven't read it yet, but I've heard mixed reviews and I was like, I don't know if I'm like as excited about it because I don't really care for Helen that much.
but you know what? I love a strong FMC. So for me, it was so good. I know a
Okay.
lot of people also have a problem with Achilles because he's very
Mm-hmm.
grumpy and a little bit mean. I think so. But I love Patroclus as well. So
Yeah.
it fit well. Strong FMC and then
Okay.
them together, she kind of joined. So I love it. It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the concept. It's like the three of them. I just was like, ugh, I didn't really like Helen in the other book, so I was like, I don't really want to read a book about her. But okay, if you recommend it, I'll give it a shot.
Nice.
I love it. Okay, and final question. Are you familiar with The Amazing Race?
I wasn't, but then you sent me the questions and I looked it up, so now I
Okay.
am.
Perfect. So Nicole and I famously love The Amazing Race, and we think that we would be really good partners to go on together, and we could probably win. But if you were to go on The Amazing Race, which character from your books would you choose to have as your partner that would give you the best shot of winning the $1,000,000 at the end?
Immediately I was thinking of Valentina because she's so resourceful and she's trained mentally as well as physically, and she's so smart. So I think my best shot to win, honestly, would be her because she's just amazing all around and she could just get us there. I don't even have to be there. She would just win. And she's too. So definitely
Your
her.
passenger princess with Valentina. You're just along for the
Yeah,
ride. I love it.
Just staring at
that's
her
perfect.
and love.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
All
Perfect
right, Bridget.
answer. Love it.
Well, Bridget, thank you so much for joining us on the pod today. It was such a pleasure to learn about you and the books that you've written. So, this is an opportunity for you to tell people where they can find you, where they can find your books. And, you mentioned a little bit about what you have coming up, but if there's anything else you want to tell the listeners about, now's your shot.
Okay, so you can find my books on Amazon and also Barnes and Noble online, Indigo online. I do have only the special editions available for that, but personally, I love them so much. So those
Yeah.
are great too. And I think a lot of other outlets as well, because I'm on Ingram Spark, so a lot of retailers online can just distribute, and you can find my books everywhere. And me on Instagram at Bridget L Rose at Bridget L Rose, and then also TikTok. But that one I don't use as much, unfortunately. But yeah, I have a tennis book in the making, and then I have the other F1 romance in the making, and I have a cowboy romance as well that I'm trying to get out there to publishers and agents. So we'll see what
She's
happens.
booked
Wow,
and
she's
busy.
busy. Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much. This has been so lovely and really helpful for us to figure out what our next reads are going to be. So, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to all of our listeners checking out your work.
Thank you so much. You're both amazing. This was such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
We love
you.
you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole.
If you like what you heard, don't miss out on the fun between episodes.
Keep up with the chaos on Instagram at 2 Girls 1 Formula. That's spelled out TWO Girls numerical 1 Formula.
And check out our website, twogirls1formula.com, to shop cute fan-made F1 merch.
See you next week.
But like we said, in the meantime, we'll see you on the internet.